down all this bullshit. Gotta break down all this bullshit. Whoa, gotta break down all this bullshit. Gotta break down all this bullshit. Whoa.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bullshit Breakdown. I'm your host, Nick Nubz, and joining me today is Glenroy, aka NewBreed. Introduce yourself, Glenroy.
My name is NewBreed. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NewBreed.
We also got a very special guest, Brandon at Louhier. Please introduce yourself, brother.
What's going on? Brandon here, CEO of Louhierstrategicmedia, $1 million digital media agency. I'm very, very happy to be spending my time here with you boys, talking about this subject.
Flex on him. And introduce yourself, Jordan.
I am Papa J, aka Jordan Griffith. You can find my music at Stateside Fallout on Facebook and Twitter.
Hell yes, you can. Now, let's get into it. Every episode, we ask a question. We break it down. Some episodes are discussion-based. Some are fun games or segments or something. Today, we open the show on what does paying dues look like? Now, obviously, this is a loaded question. It's got a lot of different reference points. But I honestly, Brandon was talking before we really started recording. If you could just, I guess we could just start from that point. Basically, paying dues, what is it?
Well, honestly, you should start with what that means. A million different things to a million different people. Ask yourself, what does that even mean to me? What am I trying to accomplish? For you, let's say somebody making music, like Nick, you make music, you rap.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? First off, to even pay you, what point are you trying to get to pay dues in the first place? In other words, if I'm trying to be the next, or you're trying to be the next, Kendrick, let's say, or J. Cole, or even, Eminem, Macklemore. That's the point you're trying to get to. Is that my end game? Yes or no? And if that is one, to me, paying dues is about the work. That's all. It's honestly very simple. I think there's a lot of nuances, and I'm excited to get and hear what you guys have to say about it. But it's very simple, and you can break the work down into two halves. One, the work it takes to get your quality, the quality of the actual thing you're doing up to that point to compete. Then the second point is get your lifestyle, get paid, get yourself to a point where you can at least make the same amount of money you would working a regular job, so you can focus all of your efforts on then taking it to the next level. And, I think I'm sure you guys agree, putting a lot of time into a certain craft or trade is important, but putting that time in and making sure it's a progressive time, not just repeating the same quality over and over and over again for years and years and years.
You have to see a growth in what you're doing. And paying dues is getting growth. It's getting growth of an audience, growth of an interest, growth of a business, growth of an income. Paying dues is building what it is that you're dreaming you want in the first place. And in music or in business in general, if you're not motivated enough to go through those hard nights where shit is awful, then you're not going to make it. You're not going to get the things you want. And that's part of paying dues, too.
I think the definition of paying your dues would be one word, and that's grind.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that.
Going through the grind, just like people talk about video games and all that, you got to keep grinding to get a better character. You got to keep going through your daily grind and keep pushing for that next level so you could become your best you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think most people who have made it to a point to where a mass of other people admire them and want to be like them and want to strive for that level of success, you don't see the hours they spend just behind the desk or behind the notebook, just writing down rhymes and ripping out that page and starting a new one 1,000 times.
Yeah, or
all the all the hours in the studio, or all the hours on the phone. Let's say if you're a salesman, or if you're an artist, all the hours painting and just learning. There is a time element in there, I think.
Yeah, building your craft, part of paying your dues. It's whatever your craft may be. If you're trying to get a small business to a bigger business to a franchise, it's all. So basically, I guess to address the question, what does paying dues look like? It looks like getting on a bus far as fuck to go do maybe a show that you're not even getting paid for, but it's just exposure. It's the ability of actually getting over there and getting the ability to be seen in the first place. So as far as experiences go, what's like some of the sacrifices, some of the hardest, as far as time and maybe things as far as how many days straight have you just been mentally committed to one thing?
Oh, dude. Well, I mean, there are often times I pull all-nighters, like a couple of times a week and whatnot, which is crazy. 30-hour binges. To me, it's like I never am going to feel like I have to stop paying dues through experience, and that's all. I bet you guys agree. Like, paying dues is just experience too. It's everything we're talking about. There's not one formula for anybody. There's a million different ways to do it, but there are like these principles that I think are really important and are like a kind of unifying theme between a lot of different successful people, you know, in all different fields. You know, like as far as actionable steps of paying your dues, like getting up a couple hours earlier and doing that thing. If you're like, I don't have time. Okay, well, you're going to lose, period.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I have no time. But what did you guys think of Narcos? I binged the whole season last night in one go. There are, you know, and it sounds shitty because, like, who doesn't love to just lay down on the couch,
it's
maybe
easy.
with a lady, and, you know, just spend a couple hours doing nothing?
It's easy.
That will never stop feeling good either. Yeah. But you know what also feels really good is, like, grinding for 12 hours straight on a project that, you know, you should be grateful to have in the first place, especially if you're getting paid for it. And I know that's what we want to talk about too, is probably, you know, I'm really of the opinion of, I think people, you know, pay dues to a point. That's what we're saying, like, get your skills to a point that's competitive, but then get yourself paid and start figuring that out. Start selling your services. It might not be, you know, you're not going to be like selling $1 million worth of shows if you're a local rapper to start, but you know what you can do to double down on your beat skills is make a bunch of beats and try to sell them for backing tracks, or you know, make a couple of beats that you wouldn't necessarily rap over, but is enhancing your skills in that way.
I feel like with even the statement paying dues, you usually have to pay like actual money to gain things. To start making money, you have to spend money. Everybody knows that. It's like business 101. You know, Glenroy, you have any 2 cents to throw here?
Well, I agree. Look, I agree for the most part of what you guys just said on whole paying dues. I think what you guys are touching on is the traditional way of paying dues, and for the most part, that is paying dues. I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit though. What about a person that's just like, I don't know, like you see a lot of these guys that are just popping overnight, kind of just like, bam, they're just there the next day with a hit, and just you know, they're extremely popular. Thank you for that volume, by the way.
Well, do you guys think it's ever really overnight in that sense? I mean, I think there probably have a couple, but there's at least. I think there's like it really depends. Again, it's so hard. You can't like categorize everybody to be like categorizing like every single American feels this way about this topic.
I just give guys like that credit just for, you know, just having the mindset, like, you know how, like, or for example, there's plenty of artists out there that many of us think are whack and whatnot.
Sure.
I'm sure we know exactly who we're talking.
I feel like that's a positive thing though. If you can if you can go like from one day and you suddenly come up with a video or a piece of content on Instagram that goes viral or something on Facebook, and you suddenly add 30,000 followers overnight or more, and then you kind of scale from there, that's a very positive thing. There's nothing people will hate. Like, I don't think that there's an equivalent between, okay, I spent a lot of time doing this equals the same amount of success of somebody. Like, your success isn't any less success just because I spent less time doing it. In fact, I think it's smarter. The most wealthy people in the entire world, who most people consider successful, your billionaires like Warren Buffett and Richard Branson and people who have really diversified companies. You know, they're not spending to be frank with you, they're spending a lot of time working, but it's not like they're spending hours upon hours in the dirt like a lot of other people. You know, they have teams they've built and people they can count on and rely on to manage all that stuff, but they're not putting in, like, you know, 18-hour days if they don't have to.
No,
at that point.
You hit a point. You don't have to grind the way you were before. I mean, that's another part of paying dues. Like,
doesn't mean they're not working though. Still,
no, they are working.
Still busting
absolutely.
your ass to maintain what you have. I think like it's harder to maintain than to even get it in the first place at times, because like
you're right.
Once you have it, now it's the pressure of having it and not losing.
How do
it.
I keep it?
If you're in a competitive business, of any competitive business, I mean, if anyone comes in and starts taking some of your clientele, and that's the only way you're sustaining a business, now you're screwed. You're really like, you're forced to come up with, okay, now I need to expand. Now it's time to pay dues again. It has a second layer of paying dues, because it never does end. It's literally manifests just go capitalist. It never ends. I feel like in music, the top in music is like Grammys. Like once you hit everyone knows. When you become like Bruno Mars, I feel like Bruno Mars, he just like kind of like freestyle songs and that just hits for months. It just doesn't matter.
Well, that's really like everybody's dream is to, if you're an artist, to go to the Grammys.
Yeah.
And think about all the different places in between that you could go on your way there. That's still, instead of let's say serving table, because trust me, I served for a long time, served tables while I was building businesses and trying to figure out my stuff and traveling.
You gotta start somewhere.
And that eventually worked for me because I honestly despised all the time I was spending there. Not all the time I spent there, but got to a point where I really realized that, okay, I'm doing this thing either for real or for not. I decided to get myself to a place where I could make the same amount of money doing something creative, just making the same amount of food, whether it was $2,500 or $3,500 a month, about what I would make serving tables. Let me get to that point where either making music or doing voiceover or making video or content, or I think a lot of people should think that way at first, like feel, because once you realize that, okay, I can actually survive, we're not talking millions of dollars or millions of records sold or something. I mean, that's really awesome too if you can figure that out. Obviously, would do away with a lot of trouble financially speaking, because that's the huge pressure point for a lot of people is, well, I've heard this a lot of times in discussion where I say, well, why don't you just get paid? Well, it's the kind of catch-22 of like, I'm working all the time and I don't have the time to even record new material or do all this stuff. And I went off a little bit, but like that's kind of like the wrong mindset. It's like, okay, well, if you'll have to, if you don't have your money right, you don't have a little bit of money saved to start, of course you're not going to be able to sustain yourself, especially if you live on your own or whatever. So you need to get your money right. And if that requires you serving some tables for a couple of months to save up some money, like don't buy the extra bag of grass if you can't afford your own rent. These are simple things. And I don't, I'm saying, I hope it sounds a little bit funny. I'm not being rude, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying a bag of grass if you have your money right first. And then it's like, a priority. And then that way the pressure's off. Because if that's like, I can't tell you how detrimental to creativity. And we do all sorts of creative stuff at our company. Like we do graphics. There's so much music that goes on that kind of gets unacknowledged, but for our video content and all that stuff. And when there's pressure, and I think everybody can agree to that because everybody here does creative stuff. Your focus becomes so much on that pressure, like, oh God, oh God, oh God, instead of just letting something flow, which is so much easier. Yeah, you forget like what the original point in doing this was. Like you get so caught up and I feel like the drive of that, you hit that adrenaline rush almost, and then you get it and you have it, sustain it, and now you're here, now you got to continue that adrenaline rush that you originally had. It's
exactly.
Like that original inspiration
that you started with.
Yeah.
And it really does, it encourages you so much. If you can just get to these tiers, let's say these levels of bam, like, okay, I'm equaling the amount of money I would have made in tips this weekend playing a gig or selling music or selling a license to my music or selling a video to a small business or whatever it might be. And then it really does encourage you to take it to the next step, because I think just breaking through that barrier in the first place, it's like you don't know what you don't know. What is it going to be like? Is this going to be? And then it's hard. It requires sustaining also, especially if you don't have. I recommend to people all the time to like leave your job if you really want to start a business. Leave it, but I with the stipulation that let's say you have 4 to 6 months in rent and food and gas and overhead, and that's part of paying your dues. I think literally like to yourself. I think that's paying your dues to yourself. You pay your dues to the world and your skills in a way that paying your dues so that other people can see that you're good and you're cool at what you do. But then there's paying dues to yourself so that if you do get that opportunity to go across the country for an audition, really cool audition or anything, that you can actually do it.
Yeah, you can even afford it in the first place.
Because what's terrible is if you have an opportunity, bam, I can't afford that, or I can't jump for that because I've spent all my money.
There was one time I did a show in Baltimore, and I had no idea what kind of show it was going to be. It was a club in the middle of a plaza in a neighborhood that nobody gave me nice looks. Like everybody wanted to fucking punch me or something. Yeah, and I mean, I get it. Like I wasn't exactly dressed for the occasion. Like I said, I had no idea what the venue was. It turns out the guy who booked the venue was actually a scam artist. And that wasn't even the first like lying sack of shit that I had ever dealt with. So I also wanted to touch on that. Like paying dues a lot is sometimes like getting played.
I would love to hear some of you guys is like getting kicked in the fucking balls stories.
Yeah,
guys have a couple for you too.
No, there's a bunch. I got kicked in the balls quite a bit. I don't even have balls anymore.
No, I mean I remember like when I first moved to Nashville, trying to get this apartment. I found it on Craigslist, which say what you want about Craigslist, but whatever.
It could be efficient.
So I, give this guy double rent and, it was for security deposit, quote unquote, very naive. Had, it was like $1,200. I think it was $600 a month, which is cheap as hell for an apartment, by the way. It was a room in an apartment. But man, so long story short, he took my money and, I got kicked out of the apartment. He steals my money, but I was like, after that, I was like, I don't care. I don't need an apartment. I'll just stay in my car. Yeah. So I can save up enough money to get another place. But that's what I did. Like, that sucks. But
I've been out of my
it was the time of my life. Looking back on it, that wasn't something that I looked back at negatively. Like, I was having the time of my life at that point. I had a guitar in my bag. I had some books and stuff. And then, it just allowed me to continue doing what I was doing there and continue finding opportunities, which I eventually did.
That's devotion. That's somebody who wants it. Because there's a lot of other people that would have happened to, and that would have been the catalyst for why they never made another move again.
And in no way am I saying like that's the worst. Like, there's plenty where like that is nothing. Like, if you can't handle that, like, come on. But still, like that's adversity. And I was young. I was like 18, and it was just like you said. Like I could have easily just packed up and like boom, nothing. But I wanted to stay out there, and I really, I didn't want to go home empty-handed, so to speak.
And you didn't.
No,
you went home too full hands.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's awesome too, because like I feel like the other thing that you never really see is like just normal people that can make it. It's not all celebrities that are rich. There's a lot of rich people out there that are doing just normal shit, just normal things. They just do it for a long time and doing the right thing. I know people that are somewhat rich that were like working at ShopRite for a primary part of their life, like and now they have like $2 million. Just
I wish you brought that's a great point, dude. I wish more people realize that there's a lot of money to be made, and you don't have to you can make that on your way. If fame is your end game, you can still have that, but you can make a lot of money along the way if you want to.
Yeah, it's your I feel like we're doing all the time, guys.
It's everything you guys said is pretty much correct. He said, adversity. What he went through. That's just rolling with the punches. And I think the key word here is time. You're not going to get rich overnight and whatnot. And like he said, there's a lot of money to be made, plenty of time to make that money. So, as long as you got that mindset, just keep grinding, the sky's the limit. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, man. You were just looking at a place just an actual open space for just right, and that sort of thing. That's the other thing, making investments. I know Brandon probably going forever on that. Like, investments are huge. Investments of your time, investments of your money.
Absolutely, yeah.
Towards what you want to do in the first place.
I think business is a great thing, and we can touch. And I was even going to point this out. We can touch on this maybe on the next podcast, but I just think that I was gonna say that business has been very interesting to me. I've been really considering trying to move a little towards that, and being that my man's here right now, maybe I can talk to him more about that, since he knows all about that right now. There's ways you can maneuver. You'd be surprised. There's ways
that's a good word, maneuvering.
Yeah, if you maneuvering right, you'd be surprised. Even the people you might want to count out the most can reach high limits as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can do it. Anybody can push themselves. What was
literally anybody?
Did you see that video of Morgan Freeman and somebody was like, some people just can't pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and he's just like, bullshit. And I thought that was the best response yet.
You have to want to. I mean, that's the bottom line. You have to want to. And it's so cliche. It really is. But I don't that's the simplest it can be. Like, how are you going to do anything if you don't want it enough to actually take action to do it?
All right, so we actually got a couple quotes from other artists. This one comes from Willis Smith, otherwise known as
New Star.
You can check out check out his music on Apple Music as well. Just swirl.
Also check out Brainstorm affiliate.
Yeah, Brainstorm by affiliation, absolutely. He says, paying dues, it's consistency. Doing things for free. Supporting others you see working hard. It's not putting your songs on SoundCloud, then tagging your entire Facebook friend list. Paying attention to your community, earning their support, not demanding people's attention. People will recognize hard work. That's very well put.
I agree 100% with that one.
Yeah, I agree.
Shout out New Star.
It brings up a great point of that while building yourself up, you can also have the ability to bring others up with you.
Without tagging everybody in your damn Facebook.
Exactly.
That's the key. That's my favorite part of that whole quote. That's so true, man.
That's the grind, though. It's click, 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 click. that's how people look at it. They don't realize there's local shows. You got to be out. Just rap at parks. People will see you rapping at parks.
It's going out to that town you've never heard of to do that open mic that you heard about once from some guy mic just to get yourself exposed.
It's going to that open mic the week before and not even playing. Just seeing what they do and seeing how the place is, how it runs, how the food is. Look at the business. There's an open mic in South Toms River. It's called Cafe Enigma, and they're their own business. And I feel like everyone who goes in is supporting that business. So not only are you spreading music and giving people the chance to be heard, to try out new things they're working on, but you're also supporting a local business. And someone like Will takes part in actually like investing in stuff like that. So the dude practices what he preaches.
Absolutely. And not to mention, you're also networking. If you're an artist yourself, of course, you can go there and just meet other artists that you may want to work with and maybe help grow as well along with yourself. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, man. Selfish people, I feel like, don't go anywhere. I feel like at the end of the day, humility is needed in negotiation.
Right.
You can't be cocky and be like, I'm getting what I want. No.
You need other people. You need their help. You really do. To have a career, you need to meet with people who have who make those decisions, let's say in a record label or a publishing company or something. For us, for example, like we have an incredible team of creative people who help us work on projects and film and do graphics and do copywriting and all of that. And so, like we in no way would be able to do this by ourselves. And you need to be exactly like willing to help people. When you go to a local show, like make sure you're sharing that page, make sure you're getting in there. Maybe you make a Facebook group with all the people, all the artists, and that grows. Let's do a group and talk about how we can make the the local scene here more prevalent to people. How do we get more
shows
people out
can
to
we
shows?
create?
Right.
Exactly. What's really cool is that meeting Jordan and really having the idea of making a team of Nub Life and actually seeing it form. Now, doing the same thing, creating I would like to create opportunity for other artists that I see that earn it. There's a guy that I know, his name is Flo, and we actually have a song together. It's on the website.
Definitely check out Flo.
I was gonna say, man, plug that man in, man. Plug that man in.
No, he's nasty. Flo is nasty. We actually we're just finishing his tape now, so that'll be out to the people soon. But that kid, he's another one that works hard, and he's come to my house. He's just the drive alone. Sometimes you see your dues paid in gas. You're like, oh my God, I drove so long. And sometimes a lot of money in gas. And it really all comes down to money. Like Brandon was saying, if you have money, a lot of these things become a lot easier. Paying dues is just getting that money in the first place. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, also, just to take it, because I think a lot of people will have issue with that. Like, it's that I'm just coming at it from a pure money standpoint. And I didn't always have money, and the difference is clearly easier now. But also part of the dues that's not money related is just like you learn how to navigate. You learn how to maneuver. That's a big thing, because it's like, okay, well, how many local shows am I going to play before I'm going to send out a mixtape to a larger company, to a publishing company, to maybe to a business who might want to pay me to use it in their commercial or to use it in something like, or whatever the case might be for your particular thing. But paying your, again, learning that's an important part. Like learning how to send an invoice or something. These little things.
Sending the email.
Exactly. Learning how to properly send an email so somebody actually reads it. Getting people's attention. Gary Vee talks all the time about being a day trader of attention, and I really tried to embrace that. Like within our company, we obviously do like a lot of marketing and promotional stuff for companies, which is an important thing. We want to get people's attention if we're trying to sell them, a product or a service. It's also important for individuals and artists and people, creative people, because it is like, you guys obviously can't see this, but it's like music business, big, small music, large business, film, industry.
It's like creativity, corporate interest.
Right. I think a lot of people feel like it's a negative thing, corporate, so to speak. And I think there's a lot of bad things that corporate people do, but I don't want to, like, it'll be like lumping together like that police officers are all bad.
Yeah.
There's
100%.
definitely like, there's a lot of, we've seen a lot of really bad stuff, but like, that's like, a tiny fraction of like the hundreds of thousands of law enforcement or what, that all like trap rappers mumble. That's not necessarily, not
all the differences in the person.
Yeah, it's all in the person. It's also in like just the like how he was saying as far as like the police, and it's all major labels. Like it's all major labels that are the ones that are finding, oh yeah, you can just take this person's rights and, and they can't do anything about it, or you can just continue making money off a song. And I know Bruce Springsteen, what was it? He got sued by himself technically because the label sued him for sounding too much like him. That's so. I mean, indie, like I know Glassnote, like people who sign Childish Gambino, I wouldn't imagine they would do something like that. You know what I mean? The deals seem kind of fair. You don't hear too much complaining other than from out of like really majors, and I think it's because like companies that are just that big that know that you know their name, they don't need necessarily to put a lot of work into you, and they know that just you being on them in the first place. There's like 500 artists on Sony, and you've heard of 13. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Atlantic's the same way.
Yeah, and all those people are still grinding, and they still have videos and views, and you know, so every now and again, like when I was like really like looking into that, I would go into these artist pages and see what they were about, and see the people why they weren't getting attention, if they deserved attention.
Right.
And honestly,
and my question, real quick, would be like, well, what kind of attention is like that qualifies you for enough attention from your perspective? Because being on Sony Records, let's say in the first place, are part of Sony Publishing Company, which has an office in Nashville, by the way, in the Fifth Third something. But you know, like, just because they're not necessarily on the top 40 doesn't mean they're still not maybe making a little bit of money doing it, or they're doing shows somewhere to a maybe a more niche audience. Or
I'm actually glad you said that, because there are a lot of artists that are doing exactly that. You guys brought up major labels. Well, honestly, in this day and age, that's not the only route to really go. A lot of artists are being successful on their own, just marketing themselves without any kind of push. Those are the ones I admire the most.
Like using social media, like using YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Exactly.
Social media is absolutely massively beneficial. It changes the game. I heard
so long as you're putting in you're paying in the dues on social. If you're going to go on social and not put content out every day, let's say, you know, as an artist putting out new music every single day or new video every single day, capturing that attention in a way that makes you unique in the crowd, so that people can at least identify you. It doesn't have to be something crazy or controversial, but like you said, like there's a lot of artists who can monetize themselves, who can do affiliate marketing, let's say, that, you know, they get plugged by certain equipment that they really believe in and is really good and could bring a lot of value to other people. Let's say, you know, like a microphone, you know, you're an artist who has, you know, let's say 20,000, 40,000 followers on Instagram. And you're a particular artist, whether, you know, a DJ, you know, electronic musician or a rapper or anybody, and you know you can take your audience of more likely than not similar-minded people, or people who are interested in that because that's why they're following you in the first place, and say, hey, you know, like if you guys are interested in recording this, I have this microphone I use that makes me sound awesome, and you know, really it's affordable, blah blah blah. You can do affiliate links. You can monetize yourself in a way that's not greedy, that's bringing upfront value to people. Let's say via social media, if you have an audience, and you want, of course, that value relationship needs to be there in the first place. You need to be giving lots of value, you know, whether it's entertaining value or whatever.
Supply and demand. I mean,
but then there's no reason why you can't like make a little bit for yourself on the same time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't have anything greedy about trying to make the best possible situation for yourself, depending on whatever it is you want to do. If people want to reach for the tip top of something, good. Because if they fall short, they're still going to be really far ahead. They're going to be more far ahead than they would have if they just decided, oh, you know, I'll see if I can just make it. Like, if your end goal is fame, then what are you going to do after that? And what happens after you get famous? Now what project you're going to make? How are you going to satisfy the people? And guess what? Your sophomore better come harder than your freshman album because people are expecting it.
A lot of people fall to that. They never have a follow up. They never have a backup plan. People like Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg has been a success, and when he knew he was a success, he started investing in everything possible. This man has small robot dogs. He is the owner of the brand. Of course he does. He has his own cigar line. That's what you got to plan for. You got to keep planning to. Okay, I had this record launch. I had this record. All of them, great, cool. What else do I want to be known for?
No, so you're right, and that's the thing about, like, back to the earlier point, business. That's why I think business is so key to a lot of these artists. There's another lane you can go. Like, what are you doing after rap? In this day and age, it's really hard to stay consistent anyway. Like, a lot of guys don't even make it out to 3 to 5 years or whatnot. You'd be lucky to make 1 year. To be honest with you,
some meme comes by in a week and just trashes your whole. Everyone's playing that meme song. Like
we've had a lot of just like hit and runs. I call them. Like,
about the last time you heard Fetty Wap.
That's what I'm saying. Like, people like him. By the way, he's doing his thing though. See, that's the thing. People don't know like his music. He's still making music, and he's got
has
a
really
lot
dedicated
of money.
Following. Yeah, you can't. Yeah. I don't think it's one. You know, this is a really like a fundamental issue I have with a lot of people. Is they kind of like they do like Fetty Wap. You know, maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but he is doing him. He's a dedicated following. The man is making money, as are like Yachty, like a lot of people like that who get so much flack which love them or hate them, you know who they are. There is a reason for that. They paid dues of some sort. They figured out whether it was growing their own audience, their own personal brand.
Right.
And again, I don't want to we don't have to talk too much about those individuals because
there's a lot of
people put blinders on, but you have to again take individual cases. You can name any person who's a celebrity or famous or successful, has money. Do you know the dude's name who made the backing track to that prescription commercial or whatever? He made a lot of money for that. You know what I mean? If it's not like a major artist that they license their song, but there's a lot of different outlets. If you're an audio engineer, band or sound designer in movies, you don't always have to be a household name necessarily. And that's not a bad thing. Again, that's what we talked about in the very beginning. Define what it means to you to be successful in the first place, and then you'll be able to tell what kind of dues you have to pay. Yeah, because it really is proportionally speaking. It depends. It really does.
I have a fucking segue here. You're saying how Fetty Wap, and you were like, yeah, he's on his shit though. And I looked, and he's playing tonight, literally, Los Angeles, California, February 2nd, February 5th, February 8th. So it's he's paying dues, and no one even knows. That's another thing. Once you get past the exciting beginning stages, now you're just a machine. You're just gonna keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
If he's going to keep going, then that means he deserves that next come up.
Well, that's Payday. Right. Every one of those shows is Payday, and he obviously likes Payday.
Fetty has a lot of money,
but he's a great example. He's somebody we were literally just haven't heard Fetty in a long time. He's still making money, still grinding, still doing his thing.
And he's got a base too. It's he's not the the number one artist out. Obviously, he was in 2015, but he's got a base that is consistent and that rocks with him. And not to mention my brother's part of that base too. That's how I even know half of this shit I know about Fetty right now. So that's my brother's favorite artist. But
and that's so cool to me because the man, it really I don't want to make everything about business because it's important to be creative too. And I know a lot of people take issue with that. Well, I don't want to be commercial or whatever, but like we said, he's doing him, and everybody can do themselves. I know how weird that sounds.
Pause.
It's funny because you can't. You really try. I'm sure you could get it done, but
absolutely.
It's just so cool. You can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You can have whatever. It's really you
just do it.
Just do it. Just fucking do it.
Shia LaBeouf, man, you gotta respect his own grind. That guy's been doing fucking everything. He's a movie theater, inspirational speaker.
You know what's something I bet a lot of people don't think about is literally what it's like when Fetty Wap walks up to his label. Or any artist walks up to the label and sits down and the lawyers they have to hire and the actual contracts that they have to read through and sign and the actual what that actually is, the logistics of that's not hard work. That's not what I'm saying, but I mean there is a process to all that. Again, you don't I don't think you just pop up overnight. You get scouted. You get
hold on. It's actually a good segue because Chris Rockwell said something similar, kind of what you're saying, as far as you're saying, you have to build it. Shout out Chris Rockwell.
Yeah.
He says he's working a day job, leaving and going straight to a venue on a Wednesday night, playing to nobody but the other acts, going home, waking up early the next morning and going back to work. Repeat until the night switches from Wednesday to Friday. Repeat until the club is full. Repeat until the club is bigger. Repeat until you're headlining. Repeat until you're opening for your idols. Expect to not get paid. Expect to not have help. Expect to do it all by yourself. Expect friends and family to not understand. Expect everything to be its own reward.
And he's expecting grind.
Yeah, you're expecting
pretty much what I got out of all that.
That's really the realistic expectation, though, because sometimes that is the case. Sometimes they don't understand. I was lucky enough to have a mom that was just loved that I wrote songs and stuff. I wasn't even doing it originally for people's other attention or whatever. I was just doing it.
Well, that's where it starts. Believe in yourself. Starts with yourself anyway.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is that pushed you to do it, and then you decide to make it a business. If you don't have a lot of support around you, that's a hard thing to sometimes get past. If no one is if everyone's looking at you you really want to do that? Enough people, tell you that's a bad idea. Some people are like, man, maybe
you're always
gonna
have the haters and the doubters.
Sometimes they might be right.
Sometimes
they might be right. That you have to decide though, how much is my own personal drive going to push me past that point of not having support? Because if there's enough of that, then that stuff doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah, if you want to be if your dream is to be a teacher, but you don't want to go to college, that's going to be very difficult to become a teacher without going to college.
Most likely.
Well, you could make it happen in some level of circumstance. Could push to be a teacher, quote unquote, I don't know about an actual license. I'm pretty sure you need degrees in order to get past.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
they made it very difficult.
like, and sometimes college could be, in my opinion, a little overrated at times. Well, not specifically with a teacher. There's certain things that you need to go to college for, but like business, I think that people could be good business people without going to college.
I'll fucking tell you straight up right now, if you think you're an entrepreneur and your first thought is to go to college, sit the fuck back down.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
You heard it here first, folks. Yeah,
Like,
small claps.
Word. I agree, bro.
No, for real. Because honestly, it's like, all right, first crucial move in my list of moves, invest $33,000 to someone else reading me a book that I can get all this information independently. And honestly, hands-on is how you want to learn shit anyway.
I just think that, like, I think business is one. That's just for one. We're doing a podcast right now. That's part of journalism. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think journalism is a field you don't need college for.
Psychology, if you just pay attention to enough people and start seeing patterns.
That's, it's funny you just said, it's funny you said that, because that's one part of, like, that's one thing I was kind of interested in. I never understood why you have to go 7-8 years in college, or however long it is, 5 years in college to do that. But, I'm not even going to, go heavy about that one, but
I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing in those colleges. Like, I learn a lot just from, I serve, like you were saying, and serving is definitely, like, you're definitely paying dues serving. Because people are like, extra ranch, bitch, now. Like, fuck. All right,
that teaches you humility, like, the very first day. I think that should be required, like, right after you graduate high school, you have to serve tables for a week and just understand the disdain that other humans have for you while you're serving them food.
Some people are really nice.
Yeah, of course.
Some people are really nice, but they're really shitty to the people they came with. You're like, it's another weird one. But no, we could go on forever about serving. But basically, like, serving tables is sometimes you make shit money,
right?
And it's about taking that money and putting it in a little pile so it becomes a big pile. You get one life here. If you spend 8 years of your life being told, when you get out of here, you're going to get a job. You could have had one 8 years ago. It's, I don't know.
I want to say, because I did just kind of shit on college a little bit. And obviously, we all have plenty of friends who went to college.
No, absolutely.
I did not go to college myself, I confess. But there definitely are exceptions. I think, like, for some people who are self-motivated and willing to, like, self-educate, which was very important. Like, when I graduated high school, the first thing I did, like, I drove around the country for a while with a big box of books and my guitar, and was just, like, experiencing different people's perspectives. I was reading a lot and still learning. So that's not the same thing as I think, like, constantly learning is important.
Can never stop learning.
But it's for some people and some for not. If you really need that structure, that's important. But you're going to pay dearly for it. When I think there are definitely alternatives for people, even like vocational school, like where like Nick and I met in vocational, and Glenroy met too.
Absolutely.
In vocational school, which was a huge foundation of, like, specialized knowledge that was really important. And, like, I credit that to this day for being, like, a place that was really instrumental in me getting to where I am, and just learning in ways that were different from just, like, the mass of public school, just like the monotony 100%. Of it was from day one was terrible.
It's all just nonsense curriculum.
And again, for some people, college could be the greatest thing, and there's a lot of opportunities and people you can meet, and especially if you're in a different place, and have a good relationship with your professors and get internships. To be a surgeon, you need to go to school. I'm not going to let anybody operate on me who hasn't paid their dues in college. But like you said, there are definitely certain categories, like creativity. Like if you don't know what you want to do, and you know that you want to be an artist, but you want to make your parents happy, or you're just maybe not as confident as you need to be. You're like, well, maybe I'm going to go to college and stuff. Like, save your money and save your time, and, like, try something more meaningful first.
Right.
Be the artist first. If you feel like, okay, I really want to be the next Beyonce, but everybody's telling me that I'm not Beyonce, but maybe I could be somewhere close, or maybe I could do something a little bit different that still, satiates my creative appetite.
There's a quote I'm looking at right now that is just kind of like it perfect. Is a goal without a plan is just a wish. A lot of the paying dues takes place in your mind. It's a lot of pushing yourself to do things maybe that seem really hard, or even coming up with what you're going to do next. I think that's really what separates people. It's the amount of time you put into just thinking about doing something and planning out exactly how you're going to do it, and the execution. And if you can actually get it on right, you immediately start seeing results. So it's all about just knowing what to do by teaching yourself. No one shows up at your door like, okay, here's a blueprint layout of everything you got to know. You got to get burned real hard before you start to realize fire's hot.
Right.
I got a question.
What's up?
for anyone listening, if they're out there, they're struggling, they think that they've been paying dues and they're the same dues all the time, they're really struggling and just want to give up, what do we have to say to them?
Never stop if you are serious about what you're doing.
Yeah, I can relate to that because that was me for a little while, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, it's real.
It was about like a 3-year hiatus where I just kind of just stopped. I lost passion a little bit. I ain't gonna be honest. I'll be honest, but you know, it was a multitude of things. But you know, but I'm still going. You know, I'm still going.
Wow. I mean, like we touched on before a little bit, there will be never a point when you don't experience at least a little bit of negativity, let's say, or at least a little bit of doubt or what. But I think there's a great quote that I love that says, a true test of a man or a woman's character comes not when times are easy, but when times are difficult.
That's true.
And some people really do have some absolutely challenging things that they have to overcome. That's a good point in itself. Like, just be grateful. If you're listening to this and you're listening and you're happy and you're healthy, most of your family's healthy or whatever, and you're able to listen to this of your own free will, you should be pretty grateful for that. And that's something I always come back to.
Create anything.
Exactly. If you're
positive reaction.
If you have the freedom to create in any capacity and grow from there, like, that's something to be extremely grateful for.
You've become a force of yourself. You've created something that is by your hand, that you're building towards. You're making decisions every day, just like that other person who's running to drugs every day or just chilling on the couch every day. You both have the exact same amount of opportunity, and you rest easy knowing that you're at least on the path to making it bigger, but you already are doing something better than just nothing.
Yeah,
you're not just wasting your time.
And Jordan brought up, but what happens if you really are, you're like, I don't know what the fuck to do, like, I'm really, in a bad place, mentally, depressed or whatever, because I've been in places like that plenty of times. Yeah. And so the thing that always helps me, because I did do a lot of traveling, I kind of learned this, that I will get to my destination if I just keep driving. Right. The only way I don't get to my destination is if I just stop the car in the middle of the interstate. Mm-hmm. And that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
And so again, very, very challenging times that you kind of have just the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, and just be be willing to ask yourself, do I want better for myself? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I may not know how to get to it right away, but just asking that question, just thinking, like you were saying, is the very first part that you need to do, because it's the mindset going into it in the first place. It's like building a house on a faulty foundation. It's going to fall down if you don't handle the foundation layer first.
You'll see it in other people you talk to, because you'll notice they don't have that. They don't have that spark that keeps them kind of lighter than air at times. If you have a passion, you can actually feel it on people when you talk to them.
Oh yeah,
it's really there. There's a difference between I need to do this and this would be cool to do. There's a very big difference, and one you can build your life on, the other you can't. It becomes a fleeting thing. It's like that time you tried grills. You know what I mean?
That's honestly why some people who, let's say, that's why some people who may or may not be more talented than others are become more successful than other people. Mm-hmm. There is no shortage of talented people. They either navigated better or they put themselves out there. They might have had more passion and really did or played more shows or what it is. But that's an important thing to talk about, because somebody might say, well, I'm paying my dues every single day, and for years, let's say somebody who spent years and years playing shows, doing local shows and stuff, who might be extremely talented, but who might not have decided for themselves to figure out how to break into that other way. Because again, it's very seldom is it you go to the Stone Pony for a local showcase show or one of the contest shows or something, and Bruce might hang out the Stone Pony every so often, but the chances of you running into somebody who is actively A&Ring or looking for somebody at that level, you never know. Okay, I've done this for a year now. How do I take it to the next level? And that, again, asking the question in the first place is huge.
Yeah, like I said, that's it. That's the difference. The people that ask versus the people that don't. It's a funny story about never say no to any opportunity, because opportunity holds what you couldn't even imagine. So one time I won this contest called Shout Down Drugs, and because I won that contest, which was freak chance I even ended up in it in the first place, I got a couple more gigs from that, and one of the gigs I did, I was told, was just going to be at the town hall, just this regular decent sized room. And when I walked in, it was all senior citizens, like all 70 and older. And I'm thinking about the songs I'm doing, like, maybe they'll like them. I'm not sure. So I went up there and I did 3 songs, and I still did what I do. I didn't change a thing, because I was like, well, who knows? Maybe there's some people here that I'm just, I don't want to just judge them because they're old. They're still people, you know what I mean? So, I did the show. At the end of the show, I walked away, and it was funny because I was just thinking, like, that was kind of, weird, just whatever. And I looked over and I saw a line of them. Like, they got into a line, and they literally were walking up and handing me, like, a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there, talking to me. My brother, my uncle, my so-and-so I know is in California, giving me their information, blah, blah, blah. Wow. So, like, I'm just exchanging. So when I left, I had, like, 14 new contact information. I made $250 from all the money they gave me.
That's pretty dope.
It's amazing.
And I sit there, I was just sitting there in my house, like, I would not have a stack of money in my hand if I was just a little more closed-minded and judgmental.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that's crucial. If you're low and you don't know why you're low, there's a reason you're low. Whether it's shitty luck and it's because of the environment you're in, or maybe you're in a bad spot. Maybe worst case scenario, you have no money, you're living with your parents, they suck, you have no way, all you can do is write. Right? And put it out there. Right. Put out there what you're writing. Write it out to people. Write to people your situation. Put it out there. Make something of it.
Yeah, and I found the more that you put yourself out there, literally, like, the more emails you send, the more phone calls you make, the more actively you go out there, like, the faster stuff happens. I mean, it's just natural. Like, it's just like, it's literally a cause and effect. Like, if you send somebody an email, most of the time they're going to respond, so really, like, that's paying your dues big time. That's an important point. Just, like, reach out to as many people as you possibly can. Send an email. Is that important incubator period of, like, I got to think about exactly what I want to do, and I need to know how to write an email properly. There's a certain point when you need to, like, just take massive action, even if you don't necessarily know the outcome. That happens all the time. Like, let's say we'll pitch to a client. Let's say, somebody gives us a referral, and we'll pitch to a client for something and put together a whole proposal and presentation, and, like, okay, that thing that was not the thing they wanted, but, like, in any way, like, that service wasn't what they wanted, let's say, but we told them that we did something else that was what they wanted. And so it was still, that opportunity was still had, but it's just different than you thought.
You could be doing a show, and the songs people reacted to aren't even the songs you thought they were going to react to. There are songs that I made as jokes that people really like and listen to and, like, think is great and funny. And when I first made it, I was like, this is ridiculous. No one's going to listen to this. But I put it out there anyway, because you never do know. You also have to understand, like, it's almost like Raheem was saying before, like, you have to know exactly what you want. You have to envision what you want. Like, you have to look at this person. This is going to be my fan. This isn't going to be like someone who listens to my music. A fan. Someone who's actually going to listen and care to the words and go on the websites and buy the shirts. Like, you have to see the full vision out for yourself, because that's how you get there. Getting to the full vision is knowing it in the first place. So I feel like, as far as, like, paying dues is considered, as far as on the music end, to just kind of put a nail in it, it's, no matter how small the shows, no matter how little the reactions, if you have any fleeting hope of making it, it has to be within you first, the strongest.
I always say it starts with yourself.
Yeah, and you have to show it in the music. Show me why I need to know who you are. Show me why I need to hear what you have to say. And if it's not good enough, maybe this world isn't for you. It's also a very crazy, tricky, insane world. And I think if someone is scared of it, like I was talking to someone recently who was saying they wanted to be an accountant instead. They're basically saying, they'd rather go to school and do something like that. And good on them. I have no problem with that, because if the amount of pressure isn't for you, it's not like I don't get it. It is a giant commitment. That's the other thing. Paying dues.
That's genuinely what makes you happy. Like, that's the kind of life you vision yourself. That's all part of, like, the dues you have to pay would then be go to school, get an accounting degree, and find a job in an accounting. That's pretty straightforward. And if that literally would make you happy, that is, you have to decide that. Not everybody's going to be Beyonce. Not everybody's going to be Michael Jordan. Well, have an interesting example too. Do you guys know that Facebook? Do you ever watch this Facebook, the Nubz Daily? He does the 60-second videos. He travels all around.
No.
You probably would recognize him if you see him. But he's I think grown of like a 4 or 5 million people following. Okay, so what he does is every single day he posts a 60-second video from a different location where he gives you really these quick facts, little fun facts, and sometimes it can be very political, can be very controversial, but puts out this content. And I was just listening to him. He just did an interview on NPR. And he was talking about, like in the beginning, he was putting out these videos. He went about 260 days before he blew up, quote unquote blew up. So he put out 260 videos before he quote unquote blew up. Now he did those every single day, and now he's up to about 600. And I'm listening to him on NPR, and I will see his videos occasionally, and like that is genuinely paying your dues. And that's think about how that was less than a year. Let's say people might say, "Oh, that's less than a year. He blew up." Let's say you put out videos or you put out songs. Are you putting out a new one every single day for 260 days? Are you putting out a new video, a new song? That's hard as hell. But that's the kind of dedication.
Even uploading a video a day is like a process.
Like it really is. The thing like with Law of Attraction, I think if you saw The Secret, that's where most people like heard of the Law of Attraction.
I've seen it. Yeah.
It's kind of pitched. I really love that movie, but my biggest criticism of that is it's pitched as more of magic instead of practical.
Yeah,
I think the Law of Attraction is more practical than magic. It's not as though, okay, if I think hard enough about a Ferrari, it's going to pop right here. If I think I can grow wings, I'm going to grow. That is not the case.
No, not at all.
But what I think Law of Attraction is, it's very practical, and that's why it can be overlooked. It's simply this, that they say you visualize, again, what it is that you want, that you can believe, and then, so again, like before, like mapping out your lifestyle, your end game, or whatever it is. And then all of your actions that you take have to map to that thing. All of those actions have to correspond to that thing that you want. Because if you expect, if your thing is just money, if you want to make $10,000, okay, I have to make $100 100 times.
Yeah.
That's how much it costs. Like, so either I have to sell a product that costs $100 and I have to sell it 100 times, or a $10 one and I have to sell it 1,000 times. Next time you're hungry, stop for a second and think to yourself, I'm hungry. I'm going to go get this out of the refrigerator. I know it's there. I know it's out there. Like, there's billionaires out there. I know they exist because I've seen them.
A whole lot.
There's millionaires exist. You know what I mean? Like these people are here. So it's just about then really like let every single choice you make, every action you make, be in an effort to attain that thing, and do it in bite-sized chunks if you have to. Let it take years if you have to.
100%. Some people, Macklemore, I think, 15 years. He did a tour. He said one time he played for 8 people on that tour, on a nationwide tour. Just imagine going on a nationwide or even international tour and playing for 8 people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just came all this way, and 8 people. That's it. But
yeah, I think Token had a similar story.
If you really think about it, if it's always on your mind, naturally you're gonna do things that are just gonna naturally.
Dude, that's exactly it. That is exactly it.
And I like that analogy you brought with the refrigerator. That's really,
yeah, that's perfect.
I always say that it's so true, and it's so basic. I think that's, again, like a lot of people, it's so easy to overlook because it's such a basic thing. If we all 4 together, like our fucking goal for the next 60 years is to build a 60-story skyscraper, and we literally every single day worked for 8 hours to try to figure that out. At the end of 60 years, I would think we probably could come up with a skyscraper. And we could somehow figure it out. Like, it might take a long ass time and it might never get done. That's the thing. I think that's also paying your dues is like, and this should be my closing thought, I guess, because I feel like I've hijacked this a little bit. But like, paying your dues at its most bottom line way is being willing to do whatever it is you're doing and trying to achieve success in for as long as it will take, and potentially never get there till the day you die, and be satisfied and happy that you did that.
Right.
Because it was better than not.
Better than not trying, exactly. Yeah. And that's ultimately, like, to me, that's all it's about.
100%. Couldn't be phrased any better. I love the hungry, because it really is that simple. I want a burger, I gotta get a burger. I want to be famous, I gotta be famous. I want to be rich, I gotta be rich. Also, I think a big part of that last chunk he was saying about how even till the end of your life you still don't get it. Just know that it's all perspective. Right. It depends on how you chalk a victory up. For me, I have enough of a base where if I put something out, it gets attention. That's huge. That's very different than what I was getting for a little while. I consider that a victory. If I do a show and afterwards one person comes up to me and they're just like, yo, you should be signed or anything like that.
That's great.
That would be a victory. That's a step forward. So it's also knowing that at the end, you may not get that giant goal, but make a dent if you're going
at least
for
try.
it.
Yeah.
Do something that is extraordinary and amazing because you are. People forget that being a human being is amazing.
It really is.
You're here. The fact that
Right.
you have time in the first place to utilize is an amazing thing, and people need to be reminded of that. And that really upsets me because they get caught up in the cars and the clothes and the brands. And it's funny because like the businesses that we're trying to sell, ironically, but they get so caught up in those that I think they invest them into them as like part of those things, not realizing they could be another creator for these things. They could create something else that you just hold in your hand that's very important.
I want to say though, Nick, because like you put out music, like you have literally at minimum like hundreds of people who actively will engage with your music, and like engage with you about it. Like think about just that and like how meaningful it must be. So like people go out of their way to, let's say just 200 people, 300, 400, 500 people, individual people with individual lives and hopes and dreams of their own, who go out of their way to spend the finite amount of time they have to check out your music, Yeah,
it's trippy. It's really trippy. Honestly, I think like the biggest thing for me when I think about people doing that and taking them out of their time is this is like a song I wrote. You know what I mean? Like I sat in a dark room alone and just came up with like all these crazy ideas in my head and I put them to music and then I put that out there and I did that for a long enough time where I got decent enough to realize what I needed to be doing to get like some of the best advice I ever got was actually by Chris Rockwell. And he was like, yo, you're making the Marshall Mathers LP and when that's a 15-year-old album. And basically was saying that the music I was making was good. And honestly, I can't think of a better compliment because I think that's one of the best albums ever fucking made ever. But his point was that I wasn't doing modern. I wasn't adapting. I was simply making my music to a market that was moving in a very different direction. And that piece of advice led to some of the best songs I've ever made. And it's all because I listened to that. Another part of paying your dues is knowing you don't know shit. You don't know anything about what you're trying to do until you know it. And then there's more to know.
I still feel that way.
Good.
I still feel that way.
I still feel that way.
There's
Dude,
always another level.
Yeah. Oh, always.
There's always someone who knows more than you. What are you doing, Jordan? I just see Jordan like doing like jerk off motions. I'm not really sure.
No, man, I gotta take a piss.
Go take a piss, man. No, this is North
cool,
Korea. Man. You will not. No, honestly, this is probably a good time to wrap it up. We've talked for a hella long minute.
It's been
But we'll go around with final thoughts. Okay, so what does paying dues look like, Glenn and Ryan?
I just think like everything we just touched on, rather mostly you guys, but you know what I mean. It's just basically grind. That's what I got out of this whole thing. Just basically grind, just do your thing, and just the naysayers, so to speak, they're gonna say what they're gonna say, but you gotta roll with the punches. That's all. Another thing I got out of this too. Just roll with the punches, no matter what.
Always roll with the punches. Jordan.
Gonna finish just like I started. Number one definition for paying your dues is grind. Every day, just keep trying. Know that there can always be a better you than there is today. And being happy and extending that olive branch to everyone. Keep going forth, trying to build bridges more than you burn them.
Be happy with who you are, but always know you could definitely be happier if you built. And final notes, Brandon.
Paying your dues, just work, grind, get better, progress, rinse and repeat. Again, like visualize what you want and let all those actions map to it. That's it, baby.
Absolutely. Law of attraction too. Definitely. Absolutely. All right. So I think that's pretty much the end of this. This has been Bullshit Breakdown. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week where we discuss, does race actually matter?
Not in this room, it doesn't.
Hey, show love to your brothers and your sisters.
Show.
You guys have a wonderful evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this. Peace out.
Gotta break down all this bullshit. Gotta break down all this bullshit.